We live in a day of instant access to just about any question we could pose. What would once take weeks to disseminate from reporters at conferences or through press releases can now be provided within minutes. As a kid, for the most part, I wouldn't even know about games until I walked into GameStop and saw it sitting on the shelf. Then a little later in life, I discovered this thing called the Electronics Entertainment Expo, also known as E3, where every large video game publisher congregated to show off everything they had. Some years I saw it on TV, others I just glazed over pictures in a magazine, thinking, man, I've got to make it to one of these when I'm older, thinking I'd be the first to find out about Nintendo's plans for the upcoming year, which would end up being the case much sooner than I expected. And not just for me. In October 2011, Nintendo released their very first Nintendo Direct, described as
direct video news feeds designed just for you.
This was nothing like the longer directs we've come to know, being all of 7.5 minutes long, bouncing around new announcements like Hulu Plus and a 3DS system update, as well as a good bit of game recap from E3 2011. But just the next year, they would release double-digit Nintendo Directs in North America alone, with some of these lasting around 40 minutes. These longer videos were established as what a normal Direct would look like, further clarified by the two new Nintendo Direct Minis, around 6 minutes long, they would release at the end of 2012. Another year later, Nintendo opted out of their annual live press conference at E3, instead posting a pre-recorded Direct running 41 minutes to coincide with the 4 other Nintendo Directs they had already released that year. If that wasn't enough, they'd release another 4. A Pokémon Direct, a Wii U Direct, Wii U Developer Directs, Wonderful 101 Direct, Wii Fit U Direct. If Reggie as much as tied his shoes, it was going to be delivered directly to you. And I'm not here to knock it. They genuinely had hours of Nintendo content to showcase. The specific Directs did a great job elaborating on previous announcements for those that were interested, but if they announced a Nintendo Direct, you expected to be kept on your toes. With Nintendo shenanigans being the most downtime, you get the entire show. And you never knew what to expect. They could have announced they were forming a sovereign nation, and it would have just been another Tuesday. Thus, they were a huge hit. At any time, it seemed Nintendo could announce a Direct for whatever they wanted and have 1 million people tune in. Nintendo had seemingly cracked the code on going direct to consumer, controlling their news on their terms, paving a path that many other game publishers still follow, though it's hard to effectively replicate what Nintendo created back then, and I'd argue that goes for the current Nintendo as well. Before I argue my case, let me just give some examples. Nintendo Direct E3 2013 was back-to-back announcements of Nintendo-published titles with a 3.5-minute break midway through to show a compilation of third-party titles coming to Wii U and 3DS. 42-minute February 2014 Direct was more the same, with 9 minutes dedicated to third-party titles, many of which were exclusive to 3DS. November 2015 Direct: Twilight Princess, straight to Triforce Heroes, then Pokémon Mystery Dungeon, Splatoon, Mario Maker, Animal Crossing, Mario Tennis, Xenoblade, 27 more minutes, it just keeps going. Then they took a break leading up to Nintendo Switch's release. Only content-specific Directs before the name brand Nintendo Direct finally returned in April of 2017. This Direct brought the new headlines format, a concept of teasing a big announcement to come later in order to keep us engaged in other things they want to discuss, which, if all else remained the same, would be fine by me. But tell me if you see anything wrong with this picture. Not a lot of exciting Nintendo being discussed. Really, not much Nintendo at all. And it's not like they hadn't covered third-party titles in the past, but they were typically console exclusives being covered for the first time. Felt like the content didn't really belong. Not what I tune into a Nintendo Direct to see. And I probably wouldn't think anything of it had that not been the start of a pattern that persists today. Take the COVID era, for example. Though we were now down from 2 to a single console while businesses screeched to a halt, even the Direct Minis weren't so small. When people finally started shaking hands again, announcements started accumulating, but not nearly enough to justify the longest Direct yet we'd received February 17th of 2021. Total runtime, 50 minutes, 46 seconds. Now I counted the transitions, first-party games, third-party exclusives, third-party timed exclusives. Even if just somebody from Nintendo was on the screen talking, 36 minutes. The rest? Third-party non-exclusive games, many already known to exist. Group all third-party titles together, and it's almost exactly half of the video. I mean, that's enough for a small show by itself. It's almost like they need some sort of format meant to cover what their business partners have in the works. These filler announcements just kill the pacing of what was once a start-to-finish enjoyable event for most who tuned in. It has turned into something that promotes disappointment because of how predictable it's become. A 40-minute Direct used to mean something. Now, If they announce an hour-long direct, I'm not surprised to only receive 4 big announcements. One to open, and then another one for every 15 minutes of headlines they can drag me through. But I mean, nobody's telling them that they have to come out here and give their version of Summer Games Fest. If they've only got 15 minutes of exciting Nintendo news, I believe that's what the Nintendo Direct Mini was intended for. Time is valuable, and I can't blame people not wanting to sit through an hour just for a few titles they might be interested in. Because there's a real sense of remorse waiting 15 minutes solely for a big announcement at some Fire Emblem game that I should supposedly be more grateful for. The most recent Direct started strong with 20 minutes of announcements for Mario's 40th anniversary, even went on another 10-minute stretch of pure Nintendo in the middle. One of the more concentrated Directs we've seen in a while, but it still had 24 minutes of headlines. Can't help but think that would have been a perfect 45-minute Direct, allowing excitement to build. Instead, every time I'm hype, I get another set of headlines to reflect on whether I should stick around. I'd say I'm in the upper percentile of Nintendo fans, and I still feel the urge to just wait until it's over to see the individual announcements posted up. I find it better to join a little late so you have some wiggle room to skip through. They've created the opposite effect of what I assume to be their purpose, as I'm almost entirely tuned out except for when they go to a big announcement. Which is a shame, because there are some titles that really need the spotlight to get the attention it deserves, yet it gets overlooked because it's lumped into a monotonous block in between. I'm not saying that third-party titles don't have their place. There's excitement to be had with every announcement, as Cyberpunk might as well be a Nintendo game for those without another console to play it. However, if they want people to continue to see Nintendo Direct as a worthwhile use of time, they should tune the content to their audience. I watched the Kirby Air Riders Direct to hear about Kirby. I don't expect for them to open it up with 15 minutes of indie games. In the same way, I watch a Nintendo Direct to see what Nintendo has up their sleeve, not to hear about 25 games finally getting ported to the Switch 2 that have been everywhere else the past 2 years. They've done indie showcases, they've done partner showcases. Those outlets exist so that these titles can be the highlight and they don't get shuffled into the major announcements most tune in for. I understand they might not get the same view count, but it doesn't matter if you can entice vegetarians to come to your steak dinner. They're still not going to try it. I used to watch these during school. Nowadays I have them in the background while I work. It's not like they drop on weekends. I have to fit time in my schedule. I just appreciate Nintendo valuing that time. Speaking of valuing time, I'll keep this short and sweet in case you have just enough time in your busy day to subscribe to the channel. Most of my other videos are short and sweet too though, if you happen to have some extra time. Either way, y'all have a good one.